Oh, I love seeing everybody's faces. Well, good morning. I'm Katie Luvis, Vice President of External Affairs at the Chamber for Greater Chapel Hill-Carrboro, and it is my pleasure to welcome you this morning. Today's forum is our 7th in our 2021 Critical Issues series. These forums connect thinking leaders with leading thinkers. Today, we're talking real estate. We have several special guest speakers with us today who will present the latest state of play with our residential and commercial real estate markets. After the presentations, we'll have a panel discussion, including our mayor and a regional real estate leader. After the panel, we'll go to you and have a really great discussion among our participants. We're going to do all this in a quick 90 minutes, so buckle up. Before we get to the program started, a few housekeeping items. First, you should know that for this Zoom discussion, I'll be your host. Aaron Nelson, our Chamber President and CEO, will be your moderator. Ori St. Germain is a new colleague of ours. He's on slides, and Mackenzie Reinhold is also another new colleague, and she's on technology. If you have any technical glitches, Ori and Mackenzie are able to help you. If you have any questions or comments during the forum about the content, I encourage you to post them in the chat below. I'll be monitoring that throughout the event and teeing up your questions for discussion. You've probably noticed your line was muted when you entered, and we do ask that you stay muted, but please do share your video if you're comfortable doing so. We love to see your smiling faces. Today's discussion will be recorded and shared through our YouTube channel, and the slides will be shared on SlideShare. We will send everyone who registered a direct link to both of those after the event. This forum, like many of our forums, is free for Chamber members. If you're not a Chamber member but interested in learning more, please drop a note in the chat, and my colleague Rebecca Dickinson or myself or someone will be sure to follow up with you. Today's forum and the entire 2021 Critical Issues series is coordinated by our Chamber's Government Affairs Committee. The chair of the committee, Betsy Brucker-Harris, would like to bring you welcome. Betsy is the IT project coordinator for Armacell, which is a global company that invented flexible foam and manufactures innovative technical insulation solutions that conserve energy and make a positive difference. They have 300 patents, 3,000 employees, and 24 facilities around the world, including their head office for the Americas in Chapel Hill and a manufacturing facility in Mebane. Betsy.
Thank you, Katie. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the 27 volunteers of the Chamber's Government Affairs Committee, it's my pleasure to welcome you to this real estate forum presented by Servpro of South Durham and Orange County. For those of us who haven't joined us before, you should know we're a learning community. While you may be tempted to just sit back and relax, we encourage you to lean in, pose questions, and engage in the discussion. We're also a social group, so we invite you to share your ahas in our Zoom chat box or to tweet your favorite takeaways on Twitter with the hashtag CHC Policy Series. It's my pleasure to serve on the Chamber's Government Affairs Committee and to help coordinate these forums. The committee also convenes every month to discuss policy matters and to coordinate our collective advocacy as a chamber. If you're interested in being considered for the 2022 slate of nominees for our committee, I invite you to let me know or Katie know of your interest, and we'll get back to you with more information. We'd be happy to discuss the committee roles and responsibilities with you. And with that, I hope you enjoy the program. Back to you, Katie.
Thanks, Betsy. Well, today's forum would not be possible without our presenting sponsors, Servpro of South Durham and Orange County, and our 2021 Critical Issues series sponsors, Durham Tech, Duke Energy, and Chapel Hill Media Group. Let's meet them. We'll start with Servpro. Servpro is locally owned and operated and provides commercial and residential fire and water cleanup and restoration services, as well as biohazard, trauma, and mold remediation services. Servpro is there when you need them with 24/7 emergency services. They're fast, highly trained, and use advanced technology, tools, and equipment. With us today, fellow Chamber member Jim McNeely of Servpro. Jim, please bring a 1-minute welcome. He was here. I'm looking for him.
I'm right here. You got me?
There he is. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you so much for having us. It is truly an honor to be able to sponsor this event here on today. We're excited about the content and excited about the Chamber and the work that it's doing.
Thanks, Jim. We're glad to hear you and see you today. And for everyone on the call, if your real estate ever needs any care, Servpro is there for you. Next up, Durham Tech. Durham Tech is the community college that serves our workforce needs here in Orange County. They have a beautiful 20-acre, 40,000 square foot campus centrally located in Orange County near Hillsborough. When you think of Durham Tech's Orange County campus, think of three things: healthcare pipeline, small business support, and university transfer programming. With us today is Darlene Bullock, Durham Tech's Dean of Business and Entrepreneurship and Information Technologies. Darlene, we're glad to have you. Please bring welcome.
Thank you so much, Katie. Good morning, everyone. Again, I'm Darlene Bullock, the Dean for Business and Entrepreneurship and Information Technologies at Durham Technical Community College. I hope everyone's doing well. It is my honor to welcome all of you to the Real Estate Forum, and it is a pleasure for Durham Tech to help in hosting this forum. I would quickly like to share that Durham Tech is celebrating its 60th anniversary. We are excited about the great things that's happening at the college. Our president, J.B. Buxton, has great vision for the college and great initiatives that all align with our strategic plans, and so much more is going on. Durham Tech is also committed to equitable student success. Is one of our top priorities. We make all efforts to ensure that our students are graduating with credentials that allow them to obtain jobs that are in demanding sectors with livable wages and opportunities for growth in the field. Our real estate program is under the Business and Entrepreneurship pathway that consists of a pre-licensing class, an exam prep, and 3 post-licensing classes. And the classes average online about 30 students, and the seated classes average around 20. We're always excited, though, to be able to say that Durham Tech's passing rate with the North Carolina Real Estate Commission is at 100%. So again, Durham Tech is happy to be a part of this forum. Welcome to all of you once again, and enjoy the meeting. Back to you, Katie. Thank you.
Thanks, Darlene. That's great to hear that Durham Tech has real estate classes. I hope everyone picked up on that. If you're interested after today, sign up. All right, next up, Duke Energy. Duke Energy provides power to nearly 10 million customers across half a dozen states. They are one of the world's most admired companies by Fortune magazine and one of America's best employers by Forbes. And they're working hard to build a smarter energy future. We appreciate their support of these thoughtful events. And with us today from Duke Energy is their Director of the Durham Area Operations, Rick Canavan. Rick, please bring welcome.
Thank you, Katie, and good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure as a representative from Duke Energy to serve as a sponsor and to be able to bring welcome as part of the Regional Economic Development Forum. At Duke Energy, we are determined to improve, to provide safer, more secure, and more reliable energy to all of our customers. To that end, we are making strategic, data-driven investments to improve reliability, help protect against cyber and physical threats, use more solar and clean energy, and provide you with intelligent tools you need to make smart energy choices and save money. These ventures can be summarized in 4 key focus areas, which are improving reliability and resilience, strengthening the grid against physical and cyber attacks, giving customers more options and control, and lastly, expanding our solar and our renewables. To briefly expand on solar renewables, Duke Energy's electric grid was engineered primarily to support the one-way flow of electricity from power plants to homes and businesses. As technologies like rooftop solar expand, they'll require two-way flow of electricity on a much larger scale than the grid was designed to support. These investments will provide benefits today and in many years to come. I'll end by saying thank you from Duke Energy, and once again, welcome to the Regional Economic Development Forum. Back to you, Katie.
Thanks, Rick. And the Real Estate Forum, we've done 7 of these, so we have we've already covered regional economic development. All right, moving right along. Our 4th and final sponsor of today is Chapel Hill Media Group, including 97.9 The Hill, WCHL, your local radio station. And they also have chapelboro.com, which is your daily local news source. We encourage you to tune in next Thursday at 4:30 p.m. when Aaron and the mayor will do a live radio interview with WCHL News Director Brighton McConnell about the top takeaways from today's forum. All right, well, new this year, we're deepening our engagement with our elected officials and inviting an Orange County Commissioner to bring welcome at the top of each forum. Today, we're delighted to have the newest appointed county commissioner with us, Anna Richards. Commissioner Richards had a 42-year career with several corporations, including the aerospace company Boeing, where she provided enterprise leadership of finance operations, including payroll, payment services, and supply chain financial analysis. She was a committed mentor and community volunteer throughout her career. And when she retired in 2013 and moved to Chapel Hill, thankfully, she brought her commitment to service with her. She became president of the Chapel Hill-Carrboro NAACP and earned the Branch President of the Year Award from the North Carolina NAACP. Anna has a special ability to bring people together, and that has served our community well. In fact, earlier this year, she was awarded the Citizen of the Year Award from our chamber. Most recently, when a seat became vacant on our County Board of Commissioners, she was unanimously appointed to the role. Commissioner, we're so glad to have you with us today. Please bring welcome.
Good morning, everyone. And on behalf of the Board of Commissioners of Orange County, I bring you greetings. It is a pleasure to be here this morning, and especially as we talk about the future of real estate in our county. As you know, Orange County is a fantastic place to live. I'm one of those folks who could have been anywhere in the world and chose Orange County, North Carolina. Two of the goals of the Board of Commissioners is to implement planning and economic development policies which create balanced and dynamic local economy. Another one of our goals is to ensure a high quality of life and lifelong learning that champions diversity, education at all levels, libraries, parks, recreation, and animal welfare. Those things tie in so much to real estate in our county. And so I'm so looking forward to hearing from some of our experts about the future of real estate. And I'm just delighted to be able to join you today. And I would just say thank you to our sponsors and thank you to the Chamber for bringing us together on these thoughtful topics. Welcome, 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 and enjoy your morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, now on to the program. As I mentioned before, the Chamber President and CEO, Aaron Nelson, will moderate our discussion today. Aaron's led the Chamber for 20 years. He's a Carolina grad. He's always quick with a joke or an insightful comment. Aaron, take it away.
Thanks, Katie. Good morning, everybody. Commissioner Richards, thank you for raising your hand and being willing to serve our community as a county commissioner. We are very glad that you are in that role and look forward to working with you in that new capacity. Yeah, we got a strong program for you today. It's going to be divided into two segments. Segment one will include a presentation from three terrific speakers. They're going to provide an overview of the state, region, and local residential as well as commercial real estate market. Segment two is going to be a lively panel discussion where we can get reactions, updates, and predictions from real estate leaders. And we will wrap up with questions and comments from y'all. First up is going to be Amanda Hoyle. Now, if you are familiar with these events, you have seen her several times. She is back by popular demand. The thing we do first, the day after this real estate forum, is call Amanda Hoyle and ask if she'll go again. So we're glad to have her. She's the director now of land acquisition for Pointe Homes. That is a national home building company that constructs premium single-family homes and townhomes and is a recognized leader in customer service, innovative design, environmentally responsible business practices. As you guys know, and we do, they hit the jackpot when they recruited Amanda Hoyle, who was former award-winning journalist of a Triangle Business Journal, and more recently, the former regional director of Metro Study. Amanda's going to share with us what is happening with residential real estate at the state, regional, and local level. We'll hear from Amanda, and then we'll move to our next panelist. Amanda, welcome.
Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate the invitation to come back. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen that I've got. Can y'all see everything okay? Awesome. So yeah, I think this is my fourth year participating. You know, the last three of my previous role when I was at Zonda Metro Study, where I was in an advisory role working with new home construction builders, helping them find opportunities for growth. And now that I've taken on this new role with the local acquisition efforts at Pointe, I have an even deeper appreciation now for what our business and our city leaders are trying to achieve in making sure that we have sufficient housing options for residents at all income levels. I'm really seeing it from underneath the hood, working for a home builder company and everything that goes into the efforts of building a new community and building communities throughout the Triangle region. So, but as you know, I kind of also have tried to watch the market as a whole for many, many years. I was at TBJ for 16, Metro Study for 4. And so, you know, I've been tracking the Triangle real estate market for a long, long time. And so I think, you know, most of us are well aware that most of our country, and particularly in growing fast metro areas like the Triangle, we're facing an acute shortage of housing options. It's an issue that's been percolating for a while, but it's become painfully obvious in the last year. And there's a number of reasons this issue has finally come to the forefront. You know, first of all, there was already a tremendous demographic shift that was happening among millennials and older Gen Zs as they were moving into life phases where they can move into a new home or move up to a home. And we were already expecting that 2020 was going to be a great year for housing on both the resale and the new home construction side. But on top of that, mortgage rates have remained at these record low levels, always knowing that there's also that threat hanging over our heads that rates will eventually start to go back up, and that fear of missing out is real. So many people trying to rush in to lock into these low rates before they start going back up again. And then layer in the effect of the pandemic and how our lifestyles have changed. So many of us realizing we want more space, more room to run around, maybe want to be closer to our family. And that is what has got us to this perfect storm for the housing market. Huge growth in buyer demand, but not enough housing stock to match every buyer's needs. And that does include investors on that side of the podium too. So just to kind of recap, you know, the housing market in 2020 turned out overall to be fantastic for sellers and most buyers too. Pretty much anybody in any price point who wanted to sell their home last year was able to find a buyer quickly at or above asking price. Going into 2020, our region had about 7,000 to 8,000 homes that were being listed for sale. It was about 2.5 months of supply, still under that historic equilibrium we like at 6 months. But we've been in such a shortage for so long that 2 to 3 months of supply is really kind of becoming our new normal. But as the pandemic lingered on, some people were delaying plans to put their houses on the market due to exposure risk and other concerns. Others deciding to fast track their plans to buy a home. And that inventory of 8,000 quickly dwindled to about 2,500 by the spring of last year. Average days on market dropped from 30 to 40 days to less than 10 days on average. And you can see here that new listings have started to creep back up again, but it's still going to probably take us another year or two to start building that inventory back up to where it was. And what we're also starting to see is some of that hesitancy among potential home buyers slowing down or giving up on that search because home prices have been rising so rapidly. You know, sales agents that I talk to say that means that there may be 2 or 3 bidders on a house versus 7 or 8 bidders on a house. So it's still very competitive on the housing side, but we are starting to see a little bit of moderation. And actually, though, the Raleigh market right now still ranks among the most competitive metros in the area when it comes to bidding wars. I borrowed this chart from a recent Zonda presentation using data from Redfin. And you can see that more than 85% of the offers that are being tracked by Redfin in the Raleigh market, and that includes all the Triangle, they're still receiving 2 or more offers before going under contract. And we have to go back a little bit to see how this logjam came to be, because the truth is we're still not building as many new houses as we used to, and our population growth hasn't slowed. You know, prior to the recession, we were building almost 17,000 new homes a year, which in hindsight was really more than our population was needing at the time. But 15 years later, we're still only 94% recovered back to that level of housing construction, and our population in the meantime has doubled. And where we are building houses has shifted. We've got housing starts in Wake County are still 30% below what it was 15 years ago. Builders in Orange County are still building 38 fewer subdivision houses than they were 15 years ago. Builders instead have become more focused on buying land in places where it's easier to build, where there's more land and fewer restrictions. That would include Johnston County, where housing starts are up 66%. Franklin County, where starts have almost doubled in the last 15 years. And Chatham County and Alamance County, where subdivision starts are up over 40%. And throwing more fuel on that fire, our builders are not opening as many subdivisions each year as they used to. So far this year, tracking it through Zonda, we've added about 61 new subdivisions or subdivision phases to the actual official active selling project list. But because so many of our subdivisions are selling out faster than builders had anticipated, we actually have 12 fewer active projects open for sales than we did a year ago. New home sales are up 24% year over year because we have larger subdivisions with more units, which has added about another 3,000 homes that are being built in the market. But if you've been watching the new home market at all, you also know that those extra 3,000 homes have likely already been sold, and buyers are already ready to move in as soon as they're finished. The number of quick move-in homes, the spec homes that are available if you're out there just in the market looking for something right now. Right now, we're at the lowest level we've ever had, with less than 1 month of supply of new home construction that's out in the market right now. Our Raleigh-Durham area also ranks among the tightest inventory supply levels among our peer cities. Really, only Boise, Idaho has a tighter supply of new home construction inventory than we do right now. And like the rest of the supply market that we've been reading about, home builders are also facing additional challenges in trying to stay on schedule. Consistently throughout the year, slowdown in government services has been flagged as a major concern on the local builder survey that I started collecting back at the beginning of the pandemic. Whether it is delays in getting all the signatures that they need for plat approval, getting it through the city council meetings that have had to go to Zoom, getting those votes that they need, building permits and inspections on time. It has been slowing down the process and getting the subdivisions up and running on the timelines that builders had originally projected. We've also are watching labor shortages. We have supply disruptions for appliances, windows, plumbing fixtures, cabinets, you name it. It's been a problem the past year and a half, impacting our ability to finish houses in a timely manner, which is a delicate balancing act when you're trying to manage the expectations of customers and buyers. And all of this is the root cause of why we're seeing these increases in home prices and the decrease in affordability. The median sales price for a new and existing home year to date is up about 18%. The average sales price is up about 16%. The trends have continued throughout the year. And I'll point out that, consistently, we're starting to see the final sales price coming in at or above the original list price, something we have never seen before in this market. And we started seeing this back in February. September, the final sales price average was 3% above what the original price was for a home listed in MLS, meaning that anybody who's listing their house for sale right now is still entertaining multiple offers and usually taking the one that's highest and best above their original asking price, which is great for home sellers who are able to cash in on this long-term investment and maybe upgrade their own living conditions. But it also is putting more pressure on those buyers who may have been saving up to buy that first home and now they can't afford it. So this is something that's going to be kind of an issue for a while now. And looking closer at what we're seeing happening specifically in Chapel Hill-Carrboro and Orange County. And I've been talking a lot about what's been happening in the Triangle at large, but it's a similar story here locally as well. Closed sales were up a bit from a year ago, but it's still only 126 more homes sold year to date than there was this time. And this is for a county that has 55,000 households. And actually, if you look at the number of closed sales we had in Orange County 2 years ago, that number is really unchanged. Very few opportunities for people who are wanting to live and work in Orange County because there's so few new housing options for them to choose from. And that is why we are seeing so much of the population growth instead going to Chatham County, Alamance County, Southern Durham right now. New home starts have improved since the last year, but it's still only an increase of about 50 housing units that are being built in subdivisions that Zonda is tracking. And that's pretty much any subdivision project that has 10 homes or more. Closings are showing that right now that they're down, but that's only because most of the inventory is still under construction. We'll see that number tick back up again when we start to see the deed transfers come through these houses when they're finished. Right now, Orange County accounts for only about 2% of the total new home inventory that's being built in the whole entire Triangle region right now. Most of the new people who are wanting to move into this market are instead having to buy houses in Chatham County, which has about 4% of the market share of new homes, or over into Durham County. Which brings me to the next slide that I added for those of you who haven't seen or read the report that was presented last month to the Town of Chapel Hill's Council Economic Sustainability Committee. This is a report that was commissioned by the town, I believe, and it really does kind of hit the nail on the head. And I'm not going to go too deep into the report because it wasn't my report, and there is a recording online for those who want to watch it. But the gist of it is that because so few new development projects have been able to make it through the approvals process and begin construction over the last 20 years, there's about a 35% shortage in the amount of new housing that is needed in Chapel Hill right now to meet the projected jobs and household growth. And now this is not a competition, but already home buyers are who want to be near Chapel Hill are traveling across the county line to find more suitable housing options. In Chatham, annual starts are up around 30%, and those numbers are expected to continue to climb as development projects like Chatham Park and others are starting to ramp up over the next year or two. Because here is what's coming. This is a list of the major economic development announcements made in the Triangle since January of 2020. Close to 12,000 new jobs committed, $5 billion in investment. And these jobs pay an average salary wage of $94,000 a year, which is enough income to qualify for about a $400,000 to $450,000 home. So where is this influx of new workers going to choose to live? That's one of the big key questions that everyone in the market is kind of watching. So I'll close out my part of the program with this old Chinese proverb. They say the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is now. And if we all want to work together toward a solution to create more housing for people in all income levels, we have to start building our communities now in all the different income levels. So I will leave that here. Thank you.
Amanda, there's almost never do I watch a presentation twice, but I'm going to cue that up. Absolutely fabulous. And for a data nerd like me, I loved that. Thank you. And the Chinese proverb, perfect. Yes, we should have started building this housing back in 20 years ago, but the second best time is now. Thank you. We'll have questions. If you do have questions, type them in the chat. But let's move now to commercial real estate. And it is my pleasure to introduce John Linderman. He will present what's happening in commercial real estate. He is the principal and regional managing director of Avison Young. They're a global commercial real estate company, but you may remember him if you were around here from Thomas Linderman Graham. Avison Young is built on the belief that commercial real estate isn't just about the buildings and the square footage that it occupies, but that at its best, it's about spaces and places that improve the lives and help businesses thrive for their employees, citizens, and communities, and makes an impact.
Excuse me, there's a screen share, and I'm not sure what's going on. I want to make sure we've got this worked out. Amanda, are you still sharing your screen or no?
I think it's John's screen, but we need to make sure that he's using the right one.
Okay. Ori, just so you know, we might need you as a quick backup, but John checking in to make sure you've got your PowerPoint ready.
Yeah, we see your desktop, and luckily you don't have anything open like all your passwords and logins. All right, we now see it. So we're so y'all, the Avison Young team, there are 5,000 team members across 100 offices around the world, and they are equipped to offer a breadth of services, including advisory and planning and management and financing, investment sales, leasing, property management services, and they can do it across office, retail, industrial, multifamily, hospitality, flex, etc. What we're lucky with John is that he brings 35 years of commercial real estate experience here, starting his own firm, and then joining one of the largest firms now in the country. Prior to commercial real estate, we like some facts you may not have known. He was an industrial development representative for North Carolina Department of Commerce and served as the executive director of the Cary Chamber of Commerce. We want to reach way back. He was also a Marine, president of the Cary Rotary Club, as well as president of the Triangle Area YMCA board. John, it is great to have you with us. It's good to see you again. My friend, please share with us what you see happening in commercial real estate in our market.
Good morning. It's a beautiful day to be in North Carolina. Thank you, Aaron. Great introduction. I'm quite impressed with myself hearing all the wonderful things that you're saying. Can you see my screen okay? Is it working?
Yeah, it looks great. Thank you.
Well, I'm honored to be here, and I am honored to be on this panel and in this presentation. I'm honored to have an office in Chapel Hill. You guys have been very kind to us. We've been there since 2005, and right there in the Europa Center on 15501, and love the things that your community is doing, and proud to be a part of it. I want to talk just a minute about the Triangle commercial real estate trends. Amanda did such an incredible job with housing, and all those people want jobs, and all those people want a place to shop. So we're gonna tie that together. And Commissioner Richards, like you, I've had the ability to live anywhere in the world and have done so, but I've chose to live here and been here for the last 42 years. It's a beautiful community in which to live and work and play and contribute and be a part of people's lives. So thank you for your service to our community. You all know the Triangle region is on a roll. We are pre-pandemic, we were already one of the hottest regions in the country. And the pandemic gave us a little pause, but it has not slowed us down. The quality of life here, the deep pool of talent, the quality of education that we have in the region continues to draw the brightest and best minds literally from around the world. And we're fortunate in that. Let me just mention just a couple of accolades here. I could show you pages upon pages of accolades, but look at this. The #1 market to watch for real estate prospects in 2021. That's from Urban Land Institute. The #1 places out of the country, anywhere you could go. #1 place for real estate and investing in 2021. That's Area Development Magazine. Again, Area Development Magazine, the Golden Shovel Award for this state. And then the 2020 State of the Year from the Business Facilities Magazine. You cannot, many communities would die to have these kind of one of these accolades, and it's just page and page and page for this region because of the wonderful leadership we have here, the hardworking people we have here, the well-educated people we have here, the contributing people that come here to contribute to this community. It all comes together. But look at this, just in the last 9 months, 28,600 new jobs have been announced for this state. 28,600 just in the last 9 months. Almost half of those, chose to choose the Triangle region, and we're all sharing to be a part of that. So right now, the Commerce Department is working on 240 active projects, totaling 78,000 new jobs. If we get half of those as well, that's a huge number of new neighbors coming to live beside us and work with us in the community. Look, the key office trends. The pandemic has had an effect on office space. I'm not going to dodge that. We all have learned to work remotely, to communicate remotely. We're doing that today. We used to gather, all in person. We used to all come to an office and work at a desk, and now some of us are working from our dining room tables or an office at the house. So tenant demand remains tepid. It's placing upward demand and pressure on vacancy. Sublease space, quite honestly, is at a 20-year high with 1.9 million square feet across the Triangle. It's dark right now and available for sublet. Some tenants are seizing this opportunity to get a little discount in the rate. Rent growth has slowed, but it still remains positive. Rising construction prices are a problem. The labor cost and, as Amanda mentioned, just the availability of product, the construction materials. It's a hard challenge right now. Developers, although, remain bullish. They're still announcing and breaking ground on new product. The hybrid work from home situation, we are all literally trying to understand that and become better acclimated to that, become better comfortable with that, learn how to do that better. But the hybrid work in the office some, work from home some, the flexibility, I think, is here to stay with us. Very few companies will remain fully remote though. Everybody's going to come back to the office, and I'm seeing many require you can work from home, but you have to be at the office with a day's notice. So that's going to hold people closer to the office, and they're not going to move to the beach and work from the beach all the time or move to the mountains. Amenities and accessibility wellness are key to incentivizing employees to return. Just the camaraderie, just the culture, the leadership opportunities, the recognition opportunities. But tenant demand is expected to rebound sharply in 2022. Once we get past this pandemic, learn how to manage this, get all vaccinated and immune, we'll be better off. Investor demand for Triangle office properties, incredibly strong. It's just as strong as it's ever been. So Triangle office stats, you see, I mentioned vacancy. We're approaching 15% vacancy in the marketplace. Sublease space, I mentioned, is 1.9 million of that dark right now. The trailing 12-month absorption, a negative 222,000 square feet. But last year, this time, we were positive 500,000 square feet. So the trailing 12-month deliveries, we delivered 1,600,000 square feet in the last 12 months. And we have under construction over the last 12 months, 2.2 million square feet. Our average asking rate across the Triangle is still up, as I said, about 3% to 29.26. Average asking rate for Class A space. Now, there's a lot of new buildings in the 40s, there's a lot in the 30s, but the average across the Triangle is a little over $29. So the Triangle office trends that you see, this is Triangle wide. The vacancy's up 330 basis points over the last 12 months. The average asking rate rose 3% year over year, but still on the positive trajectory. So the Chapel Hill stats, the vacancy just in Chapel Hill is up as well to 23.5%. The sublease space is up 18,766 square feet. The trailing 12-month absorption, though, is down. We turned off more lights in Chapel Hill over the last 12 months than we turned on. It's 42,000 feet. And the deliverables for the last 12 months is 110,000 square feet. Under construction is nothing right now. The average asking rate is 29.61. So Chapel Hill office trends you see graphed right here, increased 710 basis points the last 12 months. But all in all, it's flattening and becoming positive. So when product is available, it's like you go to buy shoes and there's none your size on the shelf, doesn't mean that there's not a demand. It just means the sale didn't happen because there was not a size that fit you. And that's some of what we're seeing in the market right now. So select Chapel Hill office activity. You know about the redevelopment there that Grubb Properties is doing on Rosemary Street. The town's building the 1,100 space parking deck, 200,000 square feet of office, lab, and space to be built by Grubb Properties. That's all underway. The Glen Lennox Phase 2 underway with 275,000 square feet of office, 90,000 square feet of retail, 650 much needed apartments, and 150 room hotel underway. And then the Gwendolyn that was delivered in 2021, that was the 110,000 square feet you saw delivered, already delivered the first phase at Glen Lennox. So some beautiful development that's going on, and Grubb Properties just phenomenal partners with not just Chapel Hill, but the community in the state of North Carolina. So let's move to the industrial. Now we've talked about industrial in our real estate forecast for the last 4 years, lamenting that we just do not have enough industrial space. And we've seen this wave coming in and tried to persuade developers to invest in our community because we just have not had enough industrial space. Vacancy rates are still hovering at record lows. Rental rates are continuing to rise sharply. The strong pre-pandemic demand has become supercharged, and it's all related to that deliverable. When we all quarantined to our homes, we were all ordering everything we had from some online store, primarily Amazon. And so that logistics, that last mile deliverable, is important in that process. Demand has increased for larger buildings, but quite honestly, we're suffering because we've changed a lot of industrial buildings to life science buildings and made them laboratories, and so that's taken product off the market. The rapidly growing population that Amanda talked about makes us a prime destination for last mile facilities. We're just growing so rapidly. Witnessing an influx of regional and national investors, we're finally dragging people in the door to build new product in our marketplace. And they're racing to build this speculative space. The ongoing supply chain issue provides a further incentive for reshoring or nearshoring to get this stuff back into North Carolina. And I would remind you that North Carolina is the second largest manufacturing workforce in the country, across the country, and we enjoy a lot of that here. So our vacancy is at 3.6%. Our total trailing 12 months absorption was 2.7 million square feet for the last 12 months. The deliveries of the trailing 12 months was 2.1. Under construction, we have 3.2 million square feet, and the average warehouse asking rate is $5.63, up from $5.43 last year. So that's how we graph this. You see the trajectory, you see the vacancy going down, the average asking rate continuing to climb. And we've been saying that's happening for the last 4 years because it's just it's a good place to be, and we need additional warehouse space. We track about 70 million square feet across this market. So let's talk about Orange County specifically. The vacancy there is below 1%. In our hometown there is 0.9%. The trailing 12-month absorption, almost 65,000 square feet. And again, it's only 65,000 square feet because we just didn't have anything to lease available in Orange County. We could have leased more if we'd had more product. The deliverables is zero. Under construction right now is 1,200,000 square feet. The average asking rate is $6.11. So you see we're doing a little better in Orange County with our lease rate. So here's how we track that as well. Vacancy has fallen 330 basis points. The developers are finally finding property that they can get entitled and build warehouse space on. And we'll talk about that in just a second. So here's some of the industrial activity in Orange County specifically. The Medline building is 1,200,000 square feet. It's 79% leased coming online. So the new people coming to the table, they're saying, well, where do we fit? How do we find a spot? So, in talking about this 4 years ago in our regional real estate forecast, we had a developer from Louisville, Kentucky, and he came down and we assembled 160 acres there in Orange County off of Interstate 85, and we just got it entitled and approved for almost 2.4 million square feet of industrial space. And we haven't turned a shovel there yet, but we have literally people lined up begging to sign leases in this space. But so we're still moving forward, trying to finish it up to get it going. But my partners, Jack Graham and Bill O'Quinn, have been leading this charge there out of the Chapel Hill office, and it much needed space. The Buckhorn Industrial Park is another proposed property of 580,000 square feet. It will be leased literally before it can be constructed. I promise you, it's that hot a market. So the key retail trends, let's move to retail. Retail has had a challenge. There's no denying that. When we were all quarantined, again, we were all buying online. So the vacancy in the in-store space is continuing to edge lower. Enclosed malls and urban retail is still struggling. It's a challenge. Suburban centers are staging a comeback. The urban centers were popular pre-pandemic. The pandemic pushed people out of the city centers, and now the suburban centers are making a comeback. Store closings have slowed dramatically over the last 6 or 7 months. The big box brands and grocers are beginning finally to look for space again. Physical retail matters. It matters to us as a consumer, the consumer experience, the speedy delivery, the instant gratification. You walk in, you get a pair of shoes, and you put them on, and you leave with them. The branding and the reverse logistics. When you order something online and it doesn't work, it doesn't fit, it doesn't function, you have to have a place to take it back to. And so in-store physical retail is important there. The industry is facing significant headwinds from a labor shortage, supply chain issues, and inflation. I saw the sign at the Target store Saturday that said 15 years old with a work permit, start tomorrow at $15 an hour. 15 years old, no experience. And so they're struggling to try to find, especially with the coming holiday season, trying to find the labor. Investor demand for grocery anchored centers and single tenant net lease assets is as strong as it's ever been. So we have so many dollars pouring into our community looking to invest in these assets. So, and that hasn't changed. So the Triangle retail stats, as I mentioned, the vacancies down to 7.3%. Absorption is 105,000 square feet. We've delivered 380,000 square feet over the last 12 months. We have 530,000 feet under construction, and the average asking rate has slipped just a little bit to $23.16. There's the trends. That's what it looks like. You see the rental rate dripping a little bit and the vacancy falling as well. All right, so vacancy is 7.3% just in Orange County. The absorption in Orange County is almost 65,000 square feet. We've delivered 99,000 square feet of retail in Orange County, and you know that's the Wegmans store. Under construction is zero right now, and the average asking rate is $22.60, and down from $23.05 12 months ago. As how it graphs, you see the rate falling, and you see the vacancy here. So, as I mentioned, Eastgate Crossing, look at the prices, the investors that are coming to the market to buy these anchored centers. Eastgate Crossing, 153,000 square feet, $301 a foot, $46 million for that 153,000 square feet. Chatham Crossing, $172 a foot, anchored by Lowe's Foods, $14.8 million. And then the Wegmans delivered in Chapel Hill this year, 99,000 square feet. And it's a cultural experience. It's not just a grocery store. You go in there, it's a brand new experience. So let's talk about multifamily. Amanda talked about some of this. We have averaged delivering in our market across the Triangle about 7,500 new apartments per year for the last 7 or 8 years. We've yet to push the occupancy rate below 95%. There's so many people moving to our community, we just cannot build the bedrooms fast enough for them. occupancy and rent growth have rebounded strongly since the first half of 2020. The Triangle leads the Carolinas in rent growth, beating Mecklenburg County, which is always our competitor. The Class A stock shows no signs of weakness. Red hot housing market contributed to strong demand for apartments when you can't find a house to buy. I just had a lady in my office, our operations manager, helping with this presentation. She said, I'd love to buy a house. She's listening to Amanda's presentation. She said, I'd love to buy a house. We're stuck in an apartment. We can't find anything anywhere. Strong construction activity with more than 13,000 units underway right now, just apartments. We're shifting. We went to the city centers, but now we're shifting back to the suburbs. The pandemic has pushed us back out of the city centers, but finally we have a resurgence in the core city centers again. Shift from the smaller units to larger apartments to provide for an office space to work at home. The small apartments just didn't accommodate for that, so we're shifting the design. The amenities remain crucial. Multifamily continues to lead the Triangle in sales volume. We're about a $5 billion capital markets market across the Triangle. And for the last 5 years, multifamily has been half of that. 50% of that $4 and $5 billion of sales have been multifamily. So occupancy rate is at 97%, up from 95. Absorption was 7,400 units last year, up from 3,300 units the year before. We delivered again over 5,000 units this year and last year. Under construction, we had 10,000 units under construction last year. We're now at 13,000 units. And look at this, the average rental rate across the Triangle is $1.44 a square foot. Now downtown, you're paying $2.30, $2.40, something like that. But across the market, that means for a 1,000 square foot apartment, your monthly rent is $1,440. I'm going to say that again. For a 1,000 square foot apartment, you're going to pay on average across the Triangle $1,440. That's a mortgage payment. So,
John, you're on fire and doing great, so keep it up, but I am giving you a gentle nudge that we need to move along.
Yeah, but Chapel Hill stats, you see that occupancy is at 95%, 803 units, delivered 693, under construction 9. You're a little higher on the rent at 145. So you see the multifamily trends in Chapel Hill, the rent's going up and the occupancy is going up. So just a couple of things here. Sold. I want you to just note this: the Chapel Hill apartments sold for $314,000 a unit. We talked about it. Amanda was talking about average home prices. This is an apartment. The other in Trilogy in Chapel Hill sold for $288,000 a unit, and then the Links Apartments and Linden, so 99.5% occupied. Any questions? I was close.
It was fabulous. All right, I'm watching both of those presentations after this. I encourage folks to share this link with people when we send it out to those that were in this call. There are some myths in our community about what is going on. Are we overbuilding? Is there enough demand? And I appreciate an unexpected episode of Mythbusters this morning. We are going to go, John, we may have questions for you as we go. That was absolutely fabulous. And we're going to pivot to one more presentation, then we're going to have the conversation. Feels a little bit like we're in a sports car, right? You shift it in first gear and then second, I hit the clutch, and then we're going to rock back in your seat as we move into Judy Johnson's presentation. So y'all, Judy Johnson is the Assistant Planning Director for the town of Chapel Hill. She's incredibly knowledgeable, steady hand as she guides our developers and their projects through the Chapel Hill review process, smoothing as best she's able a bumpy system. I frequently hear her praise for her management and her leadership from the folks that have to engage with her office from our local community developers. Most recently, though, she's made a name for herself with these masterful presentations that she gives to the town council quarterly, and that she gives to the Economic Sustainability Committee of the town of Chapel Hill. We've invited her to provide a similar presentation to you all today, and we're going to walk project by project on what we've got coming into our market. Y'all welcome Judy Johnson.
Good morning. Judy Johnson from the town of Chapel Hill, and I'm assuming you can see my slideshow there.
They look great.
Perfect. So I'm going to kind of quickly go forward with basically taking a lot of what you heard in the last two speakers and show what we are in Chapel Hill working on and what is working through our entitlement process. So most of this is what I'll present is what's being reviewed by myself, by our advisory boards, by our town council, that sort of thing. So we've got roughly 35 to 40 active projects, and these are large projects that are under review. Want to take you on kind of a little tour around town. And as we have two main paths of development you saw on that previous slide. It's the 15501 corridor and then the Martin Luther King. So as this is how I visualize working through development review and looking at it is just kind of a tour of town. So one of the previous speakers talked about Glen Lennox. So they do have a development agreement. It's a fairly large piece of property there. You can see on the left, it's that's their master plan. We have had a couple of projects come forward on here that have been built. So the Link Apartments is open now, and that's, I think, about 215 units. Adjacent to that is the Gwendolyn office. Our previous speaker talked about that. And then currently the Calyx is just started construction within the last probably month or two. And this is another 300 or 300 some units. They last night got approved for a major modification to the Glen Lennox development agreement. And this is for the lower portion, basically from Berkeley and Lanark South, to do an adjustment to the height for some of those buildings, committing to a decent amount of open space for that area, but with that and an increase in height, allowing those buildings to go up another story or two. There's the larger area that the development modification was approved for last night. And as we leave that area and head up 15501 a little bit north, we hit University Place, a major redevelopment project that was approved by our council in June of this past year. I mean, the mall is there today, and I mean, it's basically, I think the term that has been used is demalling it. The plan today, or what we are reviewing today, is for this multifamily building along Willow Drive. We are reviewing that today, as well as basically the front face, the facade of the building, or this area along Estes. This more of an infrastructure type of project along the front are two projects that are within that town staff is reviewing. We call it a final plan review. This follows council entitlement. And then we've had a lot of activity up in the Blue Hill district. I'm just going to quickly go through a couple of the ones. So we have the Aura Blue Hill, which is a certificate of appropriateness, a COA, is under review, and that is our Community Design Commission reviews that. They have not yet submitted their form district permit to town staff for review, but it is working its way through our process. Adjacent to that, University Inn, I mean, we all know that building there at the corner of Ephesus Church and 15501. This has a certificate of appropriateness, and I anticipate that we'll be issuing that form district permit. This is an administrative permit within the next probably couple of weeks. We're very close to issuing that. Adjacent to that, just to the south, is Park Apartments. Everybody know that Elliott Road extension is well underway. Park Apartments, we're working with them right now to start doing a phased occupancy of the project. Some of their buildings are nearly ready to occupy, so trying to get that in place. And then the previous our speaker did talk about the Fordham Apartments, the Bell Chapel Hill, which was completed not too long ago and is nearly completely occupied. last night, this is a project up on Old Durham Chapel Hill Road. You can see I-40 there on the map. It's right before you go over the bridge of I-40. There's a concept plan was reviewed by our town council and gave them some comments. The concept plan is the first step in our entitlement process. Also last night, a busy night last night, we had another project under review. This is, here it's 15501 Irwin Road. It's the Residence Inn there at the corner there. They are proposing an expansion to that hotel, as well as to the north of it, townhome development. That's about 52 units proposed in this area. This project has been under review. It's come to council. It's gone 3 times now, and we do anticipate it will come back in November for additional review. And then heading downtown, we got a lot of things happening on downtown, and I think Rosemary Street is becoming our new high focus area. So the hotel right behind the old historic town hall is under review, and we do expect that to come to council. They did open their public hearing back in June and been working with the applicant to move that application forward, and expect that to come back to council in November. Across the street from that is the apartment building that's been proposed at 101 East Rosemary. This is under review right now by town staff, and do anticipate that they would be going forward to our council and advisory boards, probably starting in December. Adjacent to that, the previous speaker did speak about the town parking garage that's well under construction right now. And then kind of across the street is 150 East Rosemary, on top where the existing Wallace deck is. This is has gone through our advisory boards in the last couple of weeks. We are bringing it to open the legislative hearing in front of our council the end of this month. So that will anticipate being back before council in November, hopefully for action. A couple other projects in the downtown area, just this is more of a town project. This is one of our public housing properties at Trinity Court off of North Pritchard Ave Extension, looking at redeveloping this property. The units, I think there's about 40 there now, and anticipating somewhere between maybe 50 to 60 units to be redeveloped there. Our council will review a concept plan for this in November. Then my favorite is Gimgold Castle is before us for a conditional zoning application. Anticipate this will get to our council in the next, probably not till January. This is for basically a small expansion to that building, but it's kind of a, I don't know, an iconic project or iconic site here in Chapel Hill. So I just find it kind of neat. Another project, I think this one we're pretty proud of from a staff perspective. And I actually this morning there is a pre-construction conference happening on site. This is a property for CASA. It's Perry Place. The interesting part of this is that you can see there's a line running right down here. That is the divider between Chapel Hill and Carrboro. So we have been working closely with our counterparts in Carrboro, and of course with CASA, to have this smoothly come together. So both jurisdictions had to approve this building. It's 24 units in each side. So it's kind of been a great, working with our peers in Carrboro to make this project come to fruition, and helping CASA get this so important housing in place. Then our next main corridor we're going to go is along heading from downtown up along Martin Luther King. One of the first projects we hit is Aspen Heights. This is at the corner of, here's Martin Luther King and Longview. So where the Johnson garage is today. So this is a proposal to redevelop that property and put in a multifamily project there. Right now, it is under staff review. We do anticipate this would be before our council come springtime for working towards their entitlement. As we head up a little bit further on hitting Estes Drive, not too long ago, back in June, the Aura Chapel Hill was approved by our council. This is a fairly large project for Chapel Hill, 400 and some units. So right now, town staff is reviewing that for our final plan process, and that will be, its final plan is a very iterative process where we're working through the council entitlement to ensure that basically all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted, that sort of thing, make sure everything's in alignment. Adjacent to that property, adjacent to the northwest corner of Somerset and Estes, is a concept plan. This will be before our council later this month as well, for a multifamily, a townhome type development to occur there. Up a little bit further on Martin Luther King, where the Moody Trailer Mobile Home Park is today, and the gas station that has been closed for a while, is the redevelopment of that mobile home park. So the front part of that, you can see there's the building here would be a gas station. This is the canopy, and a self-storage. Very difficult project on many levels, but it is a project that is preserving the 73 trailer mobile home park on that site for I think it was a 10-year period of time. So interesting project, a lot of things to work through. So we are working on that project as town staff for the final plan of that. As we head out on Homestead, Homestead is seeing a significant amount of development proposals. So we have a concept plan, which will be before our council in November, called Stannett's Place. It's a property that you may not even know is there. It's adjacent to, between where the Aquatic Center is and the Vineyard Square development. So here's Weaver Dairy Road Extension. The Aquatic Center is over here. So there's a triangle piece of land in there. I think it's about 7 or 8 acres, and they're proposing townhomes in that area, similar in size and scale to Vineyard Square. Adjacent to that is Bridgepoint, which was approved by our council about a year ago. They're just on the verge of beginning construction. They're starting to relocate the homes that are on there. This is another townhome community. And I didn't put on the map because it's kind of in a holding pattern, is where the Hope Gardens is a town project. This is an affordable housing project that they have gotten council entitlement, have not yet submitted their final plans to us. So they're working through that. I know last night there was some action to move that forward. So that property adjacent to this is, we will be beginning to review very shortly. Just a couple other spots I want to highlight is up along Eubanks Road, Caraway, where Caraway Village is. We got several pieces coming in there. There's a multifamily building that's been proposed. This is basically behind where the drive-in movie theater is. That one is under staff review right now. Another one is, another favorite is Putt-Putt Fun Center. This was approved by our council this past year. This is obviously a fun center, recreation facility, and as well as a self-storage. We are working with the applicant on the final plans for this, and it is under staff review. One more project that we're working on right now for Caraway is a another self-storage facility, which is at the end of, I think we call it Merica Road now, up at if you go past the Park Arrive through the new traffic circle, there's a piece of property up there, and that's a new self-storage facility. And that's when we do anticipate issuing that permit for very soon. And one last project I did want to highlight was Weaver's Grove. This is off of Sunrise and I-40 traveling along the North Sunrise here, and Weaver Dairy Road. East Chapel Hill High is just in this area here. This is a mix mix of habitat and market rate. So it's a total of 243 dwelling units. About half of those will be habitat homes. It is just, had a pre-construction meeting on that late last week. So about to start the infrastructure improvements on that property. So it's kind of a great project to see moving forward. So, and that's all I have at this point, and happy to answer any questions.
It's an extraordinary amount of things that are making their way through the town's process. Judy, thank you and your team for helping manage those through our process. So here's where we're going to go next, y'all, is segment 2. Segment 2 is a conversation about this. So Amanda and John are going to stick around and join a panel. Judy's going to wait in the wings on deck in the event there are specific questions about projects making their way through the town. And then we're going to flow in 2 new folks. One is going to be Chapel Hill Mayor Pam Heminger, and the other Tri-Local Realty broker, owner, realtor, Brett Bushnell. Let me quickly introduce those 2 speakers. Now, Pam Heminger is running for her 4th term as mayor of Chapel Hill, first elected in 2015 after she 30 years of service to our community prior to that. You may remember she was a county commissioner. She was the chair and the vice chair of the Chapel Hill-Carrboro City School Board, volunteers with lots of organizations, especially those in environmental, social justice related, past chair of our Sierra Club. Professionally, she's worked as a business manager in the computer and real estate industries, and she owns a small commercial property firm called Windico Properties. Her experience in administration, financial accounting, budgeting, property development has really served our town well. And in particular, I want to thank her for the tremendous leadership she has provided to our community as we navigated our way through COVID crisis and figured out how we were going to emerge successful on the other end. We are grateful for her leadership. We're glad that she is joining us here today. Also joining her will be Brett Bushnell. Brett is the broker owner. He's a realtor with Tri-Local Realty. He is the president of the Regional Raleigh Association of Realtors. He was also the Orange Chatham Association Realtor of the Year. He served on the chamber board for years and years. He chaired our government affairs committee. We're grateful for his local leadership and now his regional leadership. We get thank you notes from our friends in Raleigh for all of the training we provided to him locally on organizational management and leadership. He's a former mortgage banker, a dynamic realtor, and he lives locally with his wife and small children. Brett, good to see you. Okay, y'all. Well, let's open this conversation. To our participants, if you guys have a comment or question, please drop it in that Zoom chat box. Katie's going to monitor that and tee those questions up. We've got about 20 minutes, 20 minutes for this conversation. So Brett, let me open with you. So what is your reaction? I mean, this is what you do all day, every day, right? But what's your reaction to the presentations, to what you heard about the state of our residential and commercial real estate? Does that comport with your experience?
So it does for the great majority, Aaron. It's really nice to have more details, which I'm sure everyone came here from this call. All the presentations were excellent, really dived into what's going on and some metrics and helped eliminate, I think, some misinformation. Especially on the apartment piece, which isn't my forte, but you hear we're building too much. We're only at 95%, occupancy. Occupancy went up last year, even with everything coming online. That's a good thing. It's really lucky that we have built those multifamilies. If not, we'd be in a really bad space. Of course, as a realtor, I would love to see more homes being built that were owner occupant, but there's some of those working through the process. I think the biggest thing overall is, y'all, they're coming. I mean, 12,000 new jobs throughout the region, and that's a multiplier effect. That's probably more like 35, 45,000 jobs. We need more housing, and we need more housing of all types. And as Amanda's proverb said, yes, it would have been great if we started 20 years ago, but we need to do whatever we can now to try to catch up. We've got ourselves in probably a 10 or 12 year backlog of new construction, and that's just not locally, that's throughout the country. So we really need to get all hands on deck to try to address this.
I'll come back to you in just a second on, we've heard these horror stories of, 40 offers over asking price and other, exceptional things like that. I want to ask you a little bit about what it's like to work with someone trying to find housing. But Madam Mayor, how about you? What's your reaction to those presentations? Any surprises?
No, but fabulous presentations. I think sometimes in Chapel Hill, we forget that we're part of a region that is exploding in growth. We only think of ourselves as one little community, but we are part of a broader region. And it's interesting, we grew less in the last 10 years after listening to the State of the Community report than we did in the previous decades. And so it's no wonder the places are filling up in Chapel Hill specifically because we didn't build enough supply and we grew workers in this community because we are trying to bring jobs here as well. And so the housing study that we did in conjunction with the university to show what was going on and what we needed was really eye-opening for the entire council and hopefully the community. I hear people citing it all the time saying, we need more housing for our young professionals, our young workers, people coming here can't work here and live here. How do we fix that? And we've really concentrated on affordable housing and made great strides in the last 4 years. But we really have this gap and this need for the young professional middle housing, as we call it. Last night, Judy shared the one apartment building. We specifically asked, could those be condos? Can you really, the council's asking those questions now and saying, look, it's not that we're against rental, it's just the balance needs to be there. We have needs for the community. So help us figure out how to get there. And so I think it's a shift on the council particularly, but how to communicate with the rest of the community who's concerned that we're growing too quickly or we're building too many things. And it is a change. Change is hard, but the region is changing and we are part of that.
Let me ask that, open up to the more of the fuller panel. We have sometimes thought of our community as a bedroom community. People live here and they work somewhere else. The reality is we're an employment destination. More people drive in for work than drive out. Substantially more people drive in for work than drive out. When we toured Boulder, Colorado, we said, where do your people live? If the average house is $900,000 for a split level ranch, where do they live? And their answer was 45 minutes away. You ultimately, when you commute, you'll find something affordable. So to the folks on the panel, as you look at other markets, how are we going to balance that need to build it closer with this community's resistance maybe to additional housing? Amanda, let me go to you on that. You now see more macro. You're trying to build neighborhoods in other places across the country. How are we going to balance the desire to put housing close with existing neighbors' resistance to it?
Yeah, this is what I live with now on a more regular basis. There does need to, and I've made this argument that affordable housing is great, but realistically we need, and Brett had mentioned it as well, we need more housing at all different types of price points. We need to have them in the $300,000 range. We need to have them in the $400,000 range so the $300,000 families can move up into the $400,000 and then open up a house. And in the but you have to keep in mind that we've had so much demand that a $350,000 home last year is now $450,000. And so, I was actually down in Garner yesterday touring a property and talking with some of the communities down there. And they were commenting how a lot of their people who were shopping and looking are coming from Cary and Morrisville because a lot of those young workers want a home, but they can't afford in Cary and Morrisville anyway. They're in apartments there, but now they're looking to buy a home. They're having to go farther out. That's the reason why we're seeing the growth in Johnston County, why we're seeing growth in Chatham County even, because they can't find what they need they can afford. They're just going to continue to move out. And we had seen that happen. We saw that happening during the last recession as well. And then everybody contracted back in. Although the builders are remembering that time frame and they would rather be closer into town where they can get the utilities, they can get the support services from the municipalities. But realistically, the towns can also be a little bit, the time frame in getting a project approved. I mean, if it takes 3-4 years from the time that you put a piece of property under contract until you can actually sell a home, your dynamics and your whole financial model has completely changed in that time frame. The cost of construction, the expectations of what's happening with them among the neighbors and such, it just changes over time. And so if we can shrink that time frame and getting projects through the pipeline a little bit quicker, then perhaps we would be able to kind of catch the market a little bit closer in real time.
Brett, when you've got a family or a young person, they're making a good wage. You saw those average wages. Let's say it's a family, they're making combined income $70,000 to $100,000, either as a single or combined, and you're helping them look. What is that experience like right now to buy? And are they really now looking at Graham or Person County and planning to commute in?
Yeah, so it's very difficult and frustrating. I try to set out the path forward. Hey, I know you think you might be able to do this in a week or two or a month or two. This is probably a 3 to 6 month, and don't get frustrated. You're probably going to lose half a dozen offers. You're probably going to have to give up where you want to be. I've got some folks I started working with 2 weeks ago. We looked at a couple things over in Durham County. They're trying to stick under 400, but want a single family detached. There really isn't anything in Chapel Hill, but one of them works in downtown Chapel Hill. Other one works remote, like so many people these days. We quickly went to Mebane. They actually found a house they loved in Mebane. It was $300,000. They found 2 they loved. One already had multiple offers. The one we went in on had multiple offers. And again, though, they didn't win the house in Mebane. So people are moving out more to try to find something that they want is going to fit their needs, even though it may not be perfect and have the commute, but it's already spilled out to Mebane, to Graham, to Burlington. Even those areas we saw, resale shot up last year. And then it rolled over into new construction end of the year, beginning of last year. And then that was basically sold out kind of after the first quarter. And then it went even to land. And I'm not talking about land in the triangle. I'm talking about land, maybe any buildable lot that's in Alamance, that's in Western Chatham. Everything got snapped up. So it's really difficult, and it's putting pressure back on that rental market, which is already tight, because I had folks in the spring that tried, couldn't get it done, right? Like put in half a dozen offers, went back to rent. They couldn't even rent out the same apartment they were in for another year because it had already been released. They had to move and pay a higher rent for somewhere else. So it's really challenging right now. And again, speaks to the need for just supply and clarity and knowing what the costs are going to be in a timely fashion, like Amanda said. So developers and buyers, everyone on the timeline of the spectrum has some predictability. Without that predictability, it's really difficult to operate.
Now, let me come to you on commercial. Chapel Hill sometimes reminds me, it's like a restaurant you might have had a bad meal in 20 years ago. But the reality is it's a new menu, new chef, new owner. And so the reputation that it was not a lot of commercial real estate, or maybe it was difficult in the office space, that seems to be radically changing, building beautiful new buildings in the office space side. We've got the big Blue Cross Blue Shield, historically Blue Cross Blue Shield building that is now owned by State Employees Credit Union, 200,000 square feet coming downtown. When you're helping someone look for space in the triangle, is Chapel Hill and Orange County on their radar now?
Well, absolutely on the radar. And I want to commend Madam Mayor Heminger for a phenomenal job in leadership, over the last 4 terms, just in changing the mindset and the direction of a council that, 20 years ago was, we don't want anymore. And you guys have changed that completely 180 degrees. And now people are looking in Chapel Hill. The companies we're seeing today, they want a location that's going to attract that bright young mind, that millennial mindset to a workplace. Where can they work and live close by? Where can they work and eat nearby? Where can they work and relax and play nearby? And Chapel Hill has those kind of facilities, and you've got great partners in Grub Properties that are bringing those, into fruition. So yeah, that's changed, Aaron. That's changed dramatically for the better, and I commend you for it.
Well, the commute patterns are really difficult to manage. If you don't have enough places for people to work, right, then they are driving out of your market to go find their job. If you don't have enough places for them to live, they are having to live far away and do it. What advice do you have for this community about continuing to nurture that reputation or having the proper product for people to bring their businesses here?
Well, I would be looking toward the businesses that complement what's all going on at the university, all the research that's happening there, the billions of dollars of research that be closer to that. We all, whether we acknowledge it or not, every community around here, the epicenter of employment is the Research Triangle Park with 70,000 people. And we're all leaving our communities, driving out to that area. But that's changing. And we are now working closer to where we live. You can only accommodate so many cars on that interstate, at a 2-hour commute in the morning or afternoon. And so now that's radiating out from there. And Chapel Hill's, capturing a lot of that. And Durham's capturing a lot of it. Cary has captured some. North Hills over in Raleigh is capturing some. So the companies that I'm seeing coming to the marketplace today are looking for, as I say, that live, work, and play solution for those bright young minds. Fidelity just expanded. You saw, their commitment. They've been here now. I've worked with them for 19 years. They continue to grow. Apple bought the 350 acres right at the southern edge of RTP. They've committed to 3,000 jobs there. But we see it happening across the community. And
let me ask everybody for some predictions, maybe as some of our final comments. When we do our inner city visits, some of what we see is the ghost of Christmas future, right? If you all remember the Carol story, you take Ebenezer Scrooge way off into the future, and you're like, this is what life is like if you don't change what you are planning to do. If you continue to live your life like you live it, 20 years from now, it's going to look like this. I was just in Boise, Idaho, looking at and walked a neighborhood with 1960s bungalows for $950,000, and they only cost $380 a year and a half ago. What is coming our way? Are we going Vail? Is this Boulder? Is this Silicon Valley? Amanda, we'll do some predictions of what's coming our way, maybe the next 5-10 years.
Yeah, I think what you were seeing happening in Boise could also be coming here. I mean, you saw it already happen inside the Beltline in Raleigh, how all these 1960s, 1950s style homes the lot itself is worth $400,000, $500,000, $800,000. If you do not continue to, now a lot of the people who can't afford have to move out. The community just needs to come to terms. Do you want your teachers? Do you want your cooks in your restaurants to be able to live and work, live close to where they work? Or are you okay with them taking their tax dollars somewhere else and living in another community? That's kind of the terms you need to come with. Is we need to have a variety of different price points of housing to support everybody over a period of time, or we will start to see the same thing happen in pockets. Now we're not constrained by physical boundaries like some other communities are. We aren't surrounded by mountains where we can continue to grow out as far as we can. So I think we will always have opportunities for affordable housing options, but you're going to have to drive farther out to get to those. It's a matter of, can we support the transportation infrastructure? Can we support the utility infrastructure to have that growth go out? And I think all of us would rather things stay closer in and not have as much sprawl and keep our investments closer into town, because it gets expensive as you start moving out across the board. It becomes more expensive to live here. It becomes a less, not as a livable place. We can pride ourselves in being a great livable place to be. But if we become as expensive as some of these larger municipalities, we're going to stop dropping off those lists, and people are not going to be looking to us first. And when they're looking at growing their careers and growing their families.
Amanda, that is very helpful. I'd like you, while I'm asking a few other folks, there's a question Tom Wiltberger put in the chat. He is one of the partners with Terra Nova Global Properties. If there's an easy answer to that, I'm going to come back to you in a second to answer. Pam Heminger, give us a little predictions. And then coming to you, John, following up with Brett.
So what I want the prediction to be is that we are creating more jobs here so that people who live here will actually work here. I mean, our two biggest employers, UNC and UNC Health, have an interesting array of job levels, but you have to be highly skilled, highly qualified, or you have to work in the service industry. We're missing those middle jobs in our community as well as our middle housing. So what I've been really trying to focus us on is growing those jobs here so that we can do the live, work, play. We're seeing the same thing. Yeah, we have a Google office here. They want all these things. They want walkability. They want EV charging stations. They want to be able to commute into work versus on the free transit system. So what we want to have happen is we need to keep building our housing supply in the areas we need it. And people do commute from in. We have buses coming in from Mebane and as far away as Greensboro every day bringing employees. So we've got to think of ourselves as a region. We've got to think of ourselves as being able to offer jobs and housing. So we need to be developing both.
Awesome. John?
Well, part of the rise in housing costs is not just demand. We do have incredible demand, but I would remind everyone that, a year ago, $100,000 in lumber framed 10 houses. Today it frames 2. So the escalation in just construction costs is pushing prices, beyond the reach of a lot of people. Were it not for cheap mortgage rates, we would have a problem in affordability of housing right now. The low mortgage rates are saving us. But I'll tell you what's coming to us, because it came to my door last night, literally to my door last night. I have a house larger than I need. My kids are grown. My grandkids come on Sunday to visit, but my house is much larger than I need. And yet last night, sitting down to dinner, there's a knock on my front door, and there's a guy standing there. He said, "Hey, I just moved here from Texas, and I'm walking your neighborhood, going door to door, asking if you would consider selling your house." He said, "I see you've got a lockbox on your front door. Is your house on the market for sale?" I said, "No, that's for the cleaning lady tomorrow when I'm not going to be here." And but literally, that's what's coming to all of us. So if you have a house that's larger than you need, I'm not interested in selling my house. I like living there. I like the convenience of to the office and to shopping and the hospitals right by the house. And I'm getting older every day, so the medical concerns are more important to me. But if I were considering selling, if you are considering selling, if you do have more house than you need, now's the time to sell it. I mean, you're going to get a lot of money for your house because there's a huge demand, and they're coming knocking on everybody's door. So,
like knock on your door with a suitcase full of cash. It is that is surprising. Brett Bushnell, final 1 minute final.
Yeah, no, I mean, and a good point that that was just made, right? Like people are going to start knocking on doors, and it's happened in this town already, and it'll continue. But I think the biggest thing that we could do, which would be the mistake, is to not take advantage of the great free public transportation system we already have. And we're using it somewhat, but we really could do density in the proper places and ramp that up and take full advantage of it to try to keep prices down, to try to keep utilities, infrastructure, everything else from really having to stretch out. And if we do that, that'll help a great deal. And if we try to just kind of limit it, keep people out, we're a region. They're just going to go around us. They're going to go past us. And then the worst thing is we're still going to get the traffic, y'all. They're still going to drive in to work the jobs at UNC and UNC Chapel Hill hospitals. They're still going to cut through 54 to try to get around to 40. And we really don't have bad traffic now. Everyone who grew up here, they think it's horrible. I've got to stay 2 or 3 traffic, cycles at a light now. You have someone coming from the Bay Area, from the Northeast, from the Mid-Atlantic. 45 minutes, an hour commute is nothing for them. So I think we really need to be smart on our transportation and our housing density development placement so we can avoid turning into a less desirable place. And we all love this place, so let's just keep it running and affordable and opportunities for everyone so we can not have that ghost of Christmas future arrive at our doorstep.
Amen. Amen.
Should have been more ecumenical, the ghost of Hanukkah future, if that's what suits,
there you go. Yes.
My family. However,
yes.
The Hanukkah fairy drags you off into the future to take a look at your future. Y'all, elections matter. There is an election, I just want to remind everybody, going on right now in our community, Chapel Hill Town Council, School Board, and Carrboro Town Council. The Chamber will put out our candidate interviews. Not interviews, we surveyed all the candidates, and they have yes and no answers to key questions that we have asked them to show their alignment with some of the Chamber's priorities. With that, let me bounce back to Katie Luvis for our final minute, and my thanks to our panelists, Judy, Pam, Amanda, John, Brett.
Thanks, Aaron. I'm mindful of the time. We're almost to the 10 o'clock hour. So if anyone needs to scoot to the next meeting, please feel free to do so. I'm going to have some very brief closing remarks. So I hope you all learned something new that's useful for your organization. I know I did. I want to give a really heartfelt thank you to our special presenters who took the time to create and assemble those outstanding presentations, which we will share with you all. I also want to thank our panelists who contributed to a really great conversation. For those of you who can stick around, if you have some questions, feel free to do so, and we can keep this open and the conversation going. As I mentioned at the start of the meeting, we'll share the video recording as well on our YouTube channel, and we'll send you a link afterwards once we get that loaded. Also, you can catch Mayor Pam Heminger and Chamber President and CEO Aaron Nelson on 97.9 FM, The Hill WCHL, next Thursday at 4:30 to unpack what did we learn here today. Our next and final policy forum or critical issues series forum of the year is the annual state legislative briefing on December 9th. And we've got our full delegation to the North Carolina General Assembly speaking. That's Representative Insco, Meyer, and Senator Foushee, as well as our U.S. Representative David Price will be joining us. So should be a good one. That's free for chamber members. Please register. And I want to give a final thanks to our sponsors who made today possible: Servpro of South Durham and Orange County, Durham Tech, Duke Energy, and Chapel Hill Media Group. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Katie, or will we, as folks jump off, we are able to stay just a few more moments. So if Team Chamber would not turn off the button, flip the off switch quite yet. Let's see if there are any final comments or anything that we can be doing for anybody out there. Good to see some good friends.
And Mackenzie, if you can turn off the recording, that'll be fine.